This is Brandon Clay. Thanks again for tuning into the BCS Daily podcast or TV, depending on what you're watching. If you're on YouTube, thanks for tuning in to the show itself. And if you're listening to the podcast, man, glad that you're listening. Make sure to follow me on all social media, Brandon Clay PSB. That works for Twitter and it works for Instagram. A ton of really cool stuff, really over the next 3 or 4 weeks lined up in addition to the show itself. Let's get started with today's episode. First, words coming, from FIBA that they're considering canceling some youth events over in Europe this summer. I have been vocal. Obviously, I think the CDC, Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA, all those people lead the way in terms of what will happen with mass gatherings this summer. Mass gatherings, honestly, is 1,000 or more people. Putting people back in churches. Schools are closed till the end of the year. It's just a really different time and space. Obviously, April and May are gone evaluation-wise, whether it's the men's side or the women's side. And to be quite honest, I don't see how we get July. I think in a perfect world that you get that, but I just don't see that being the case. I also think that because of not getting July, if you're a parent of a kid, if you're a club coach that has a kid that's kind of under the radar, maybe it's not a kid that has a heavy recruitment already with multiple offers, depending on what level those are, not really withstanding to this discussion, but a kid who just needs some marketing and needs some help. It's a great time to get a third party like what we do involved with our Brandon Clay scouting recruiting profiles. We actually are going to talk about a couple of kids in a minute out of Kentucky who have taken full advantage of that, where they've gone with it, and why it's so important to make sure that your name is out there, especially in a summer like this. I've been in the business 18 years. I've never seen anything like it. So let's jump to it. Looking at Boyd County High School, they've got one of the best backcourts inside of the Bluegrass State. Harley Painter's actually already committed to Morehead State, did that during the school season. 2,000-point score already during her career, a fantastic option. I mentioned that she very well could be in the Miss Basketball running inside of the state for next year. You look at some of the people that have gotten the accolades there. Savannah Wheeler is one, same high school. So definitely not a foreign deal for them to be able to win that there at Boyd. Always a really, really good team, 20-plus wins. Always a team that can make it downstate, and Painter is the next one in that trajectory there. Has been a member of our profiles, honestly, since she was a middle schooler, and really been able to tell her story. Her ability to score at a young age was always there, but she really has learned how to run a team, how to really take it to the next level, and I thought she did that this year. You look at her numbers across the board, 20-plus points a night, but a kid I think that can get you, 5 to 7 assists on any given night when she's rolling, will defend it and really will do whatever it takes to be able to make sure that her team walks away with the win. Sharing the backcourt with her, an available 21 guard, Bailey Rucker. I think Rucker is one of the better shooters that I've seen, not just inside of the state lines, but honestly up and down the eastern seaboard. She came down, and there's some video on her profile page. If you go to peachstatebasketball.com, jump in the search box, type in Bailey Rucker, and then you can do the same thing on our YouTube TV channel, Brandon Clay TV. That's Bailey Rucker. And you can watch the film for yourself from our All-American Training Academy back in August. She brings a lot to the table in terms of her ability to make an open shot. And she just knows how to let it go. You watch basketball and you think about some of the better spot shooters that you've seen. Kyle Korver is a name that comes to mind, where it's very rare that you watch Kyle Korver try to do too much on the basketball floor. He knows what he's there for. He knows how to keep himself from being a liability on the defensive end. He's going to put himself in good position, make sure he doesn't get switched off in the P&R where he's stuck guarding, a LeBron James or somebody like that in the action. And, making sure that he's always in the right place offensively. So when he gets that drive and kick opportunity from a Donovan Mitchell or a LeBron James, even back to the Atlanta Hawk days, you get some of those guys that can penetrate and pitch for him, and Korver was always there ready to knock down the open jumper. I think Rucker brings a lot of those same traits to the table at the next level. A kid that can shoot it in the high 30s, potentially even low 40s from the three. It's going to be an 80+% free throw shooter when she gets to the line. If it's a technical foul being shot, you're going to send her up to shoot it. Hard to find those kids. Really like the both of them. Last but not least, I want to talk about Nico Mannion declaring for the NBA draft. Freshman guard out of Arizona. Loved watching Manny and had the opportunity most recently during his high school time to watch him at the McDonald's All-American game, sitting right there on the floor and being able to just kind of take everything in. Dynamic, but I think he's not afraid of anything, right? So there are some physical limitations there, that will jump off the page a little bit as teams break down film. But he was going back and forth with Cole Anthony that night. Like, he wanted every part of that matchup. Really like what he brings long term to the game. Be interesting to see, obviously, how his talent level pans out at that high. I mean, you look at the point guard position in the NBA, and it's just brutal, night in and night out. You look at guys like Dennis Schroeder in OKC, maybe the best sixth man in the game, not playing for the Los Angeles Clippers, man. And I think even with him, you see how good Schroeder is. It really speaks to how tough that position is right now inside the NBA. But man is going to have a chance to compete and do his thing. So be interested to watch and see how that pans out. As always, thanks for tuning in to the BCS Daily Report. This is Brandon Clay. And until next time, Any Gym is home.